All right, 2025 is starting. This is my first round of the year, I think. I don't think I played any other rounds before this, considering it's only the 5th. No, I take that back. I played one other round this year, and it did not go well because it was super windy. But for those of you who don't know, I'm Tristan Gates. I am owner and operator of TG Disc Golf and the founder of Team God. Today I'm going to be out playing Martin course, which I've put in myself, and I'm going to be playing this for the Distance Disc Golf League, which is a league that is based on UDisc round ratings and matching us up against other people. So this week I'm going to be playing against Jacob Hendrick, whose brother Bradley Hendrick I've been kind of talking about, and he even has his own YouTube channel, Birdie Disc Golf, I think is the way that you pronounce it. I'll link that in the description below. But yeah, so I'll be out here playing this. It is a 18-hole, 18 pad, 9 basket course. Again, is one that I installed about 2 years ago or so, and we are far enough along that I'm comfortable with calling it a decent course. There are some things that still need to get done, like I would like to see tee pads get installed, and I would like to see tee signs get put in so that people who don't know a lot about disc golf or UDisc can still be able to go and find it and play it. And yeah, that'll be pretty exciting when those get done. I still got to make them. That's 100% on me. So we'll be starting off on hole 1 here. Tee pads right here behind me. We got the hole down there, and as far as this hole is concerned, when I'm playing it normally, so anybody who's 12 years old and up, so the people who are playing MJ and FJ 12 and up in the PDGA, we play the basketball court is out of bounds, the tennis/pickleball courts are out of bounds, and any other road around the outside is out of bounds, including the gutter that's around the whole basketball court. So if it lands and rolls and stays in the gutter, then it's still OB. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. I will be throwing a forehand with the Mint Phoenix. So this is a very overstable 9-speed. And my goal is a forehand up high to let it kind of crash into that hill that's just to the right of where the basket is. All right, let's get started. Oh, I probably got to start up my scorecard too. Ooh, that's looking good. Oh, that's way deep. Sit. Okay, perfect. So when you go play your round, you have to start up a round on the course that you are playing. So for me, this is going to be main layout of Martin. And then you have to add in the player that you are playing against. So for me, this would be Jacob. When you go add them, you don't include it as a scoring round. They don't need to see the fact that it's a scoring round. You can just make it as an activity round for them. But for you, it has to be a scoring round. The other things too that you need to do is take a picture of you being at the course. So I'll go take a picture with me over by the sign so that I can clearly define the fact that I was at the course on this day and that I wasn't just sitting at home punching in scores from my phone. Now, thankfully enough, I will have this recorded and hopefully put it up online so that people can go back and verify that I was doing it. But yeah, so that's the goal for today. My absolute best round on this course ever, I think, was a 10 under. But when I did that one, we have 2 different layouts that we play. So we have what in Florida we used to call the old man layout, and then here I call it twice around, or once around, excuse me. So you go and play hole 1, which we just threw off at, and hole 10, you throw both of them off at the same time, and you finish both of those together so that you only have to play hole 1 once, which is great. It's easy to be able to do, and takes about 45 minutes to 50 minutes to play this course. I'm not going to be doing that today because this has to be as PDGA or disc golf legal as possible, and so I don't want to make it so that I'm throwing potentially a disc that I would use on both shots for both of those things. So I'm not going to be doing that today. I'll just be doing 1 through 18 as I normally should. Definitely got an outside the circle putt here. Yeah, that wasn't, all right. I don't typically start this round, my rounds here, with hole 1 being a birdie anyways. I'm not exactly the greatest forehand player. So I just don't accept this necessarily as a birdie. In all fairness, I probably could be throwing something that's slower speed, but more overstable, like maybe a resistor or something, but I wasn't comfortable with it to start with, and so I wanted to make sure that I got the overstability that I needed because I hadn't had any real practice throws other than a couple of practice putts. All right, so hole 2 is a little bit more interesting than that last one. That last one has been set up initially just so that it was a forehand hole, and I'm, like I said, not a great forehander. So this hole has 2 different lines. The first line, you can set it up so that you're playing a forehand off to the left side here in towards the basket, but there is also another sneaky route that I like, which is a backhand that goes up and around the trees and kind of crashes in. I don't know how I'm feeling necessarily at the moment with a backhand, but I want to get it in so that I'm at least prepared going into the next couple of holes with what I can do as a backhand. So I'll be using the resistor. Make sure that I'm going to get up and around that tree and crash in. So I'm going to make sure that I go wide and high enough that I get to the carry back to the basket. Oh, so close to that ace. So I'm not going to do a whole lot of talking while we're moving around because I have the GoPro, or the Osmo Action 4, I'll show you here real quick, mounted to my bag up here. So when I go to move the bag around, all you would be seeing is the sky because I pull it backwards and push it or pull it behind me, and you're not really going to see me a whole lot. So I'm not going to talk while we're moving, but I can still talk once we get stationary and set everything up and whatnot. It is, I think, 42 degrees out right now. So my hands are getting a little bit cold. I don't know why I just took that whole time to wind up for that. That was basically a drop-in. For those of you that are still learning how to play disc golf and don't really quite know practices and routines and stuff like that, the best players in any sport, in any world, will still continuously do the same routine over and over and over and over and over again, even though they know full well that they're going to make something. Like, think about the best free thrower players in basketball. They are constantly still doing their little routine and setting up and spinning the ball and kissing it and then tossing it up and whatnot. They're still doing it, even though I'm sure they practiced that a billion times before that case. So that's why you always should be continuously doing your routine no matter what. All right. So this hole here, tee pad's right over here, and we're throwing to a bunch of trees back there with a basket behind the trees and whatnot. And for this one, I have seen some people do multiple lines for this. I don't understand how they do it. They're baseball players or something like that, but I've seen a forehand to go way up to the top left to crash down in behind it. I feel like that's a little bit overkill. I don't think that necessarily is needed, but if you don't have a backhand, well, then there's that. I've also seen a tomahawk slash thumber going up over the top of one of these trees and coming back down in. You still land probably about 60 feet away. So I'd rather just play for the backhand, which comes out kind of here. You have to watch a couple of these low branches and whatnot, but you get to skip up into the circle and you're crystal clear. I will say that the ground right now is not looking amazing for skips. So we might have a little bit of trouble with that. I'm going to be aiming for, if you can see it over on the right hand side there, the basketball hoops with a little bit of hyzer with a pyro, and hopefully this can scoot up to the basket. I'm going to throw in a little bit of hyzer so that it can just grab edge and turn, hopefully. That's the goal here. There's the skip. Oh, and we are right next to the basket. Let's go! All right, this one I'm not gonna bring my mini because this is a dump in. I actually haven't played this course really for score or for like attempting to get as low as possible in a really long time. I've just come out here to kind of like keep myself warmed up and practice throwing and forehanding and learning some shots with things and whatnot. As we get towards the back, the middle part, I should say, hole 8 and 9, you'll see that there's a large baseball court here, or baseball field, that you can use to kind of throw in there and whatnot. And as I came up, there was a kid who was doing that same thing. Just practicing, and he's learning how to play, and he's getting into it and whatnot. And I think that's why I like this placement of the course, is because it's not around, like it's not a major property like some of the areas might be around here or whatnot. Or like if you think about some insanely popular courses, like in the area we have Lula, but like if you're from North Carolina and you got Diavolo, or if you're from South Carolina and you got, you know, Winthrop and Rock Hill, or, you know, Emporia and all the courses that they have and whatnot. Or Michigan. I played recently up in Michigan, and there's a ton of nice, beautiful courses up there. Fallsburg, or Texas last year, 2 years ago, I played the NAGT tournaments, and they had, I think it was called Big Roy or Roy something or whatnot. And just, there's a lot of courses that are well known, and sometimes you don't get to be able to play or practice on them to learn shots or be able to figure out the way that you're playing, because they're so filled with people that are trying to get through to be able to play it and whatnot. So that's why I like this course here, is because it gives you a bunch of the different shot shapes, and it gets you to learn how to throw lower speed discs and then work your way up to the higher speed ones, which is what we're all taught as budding disc golfers. So that was a birdie, 2 down through 3. All right, so this is hole 4. Hole 4 goes from the tee pad here to, I hope you can see the basket down there in that area. There is the obvious up the middle gap framed by the 2 trees here in front of us. There is a right side gap that you can play on a hyzer of some sort. The Mando, if you can see it, is on the far right there. That does play a count into this hole, as well as the back 9s, 13. More prevalent there because it's a longer tee pad. Or you can play the forehand line here, which honestly is a really good one, except for the fact that there's a branch that kind of comes down, and it it keeps the straight line very low. But the forehand line, because there's a lot of tiny little branches there, it will catch you and then toss you in really short. And so that's why I kind of like going up the middle with a backhand. If I had a better forehand, I would go up the middle with a forehand, because that plays for the way that the ground is lying. The ground is slanted right to left. And so if I throw it backhand and it hits, it's easier for it to skip off of that and go further down the hill than if I were to forehand it and it's coming in at this angle into the ground and stopping it there. So that's kind of why I would throw the forehand if I had a better forehand and a more accurate forehand, but I don't. I have a fairly decent backhand, I like to think. And so that's what I'm going to end up doing here for this hole. Electron entropy. This is the circuit series, and the only reason I'm still throwing this one is because I've beaten it in so much that it's not as fadey as a as a brand new entropy, electron entropy. I have a brand new electron entropy in there, brand new, when they got re-released for the custom stamps and whatnot. I have one in my bag. I'm just not throwing it yet because it's still a little bit overstable for what I want. So gonna put this as flat or slight hyzer and just let it kind of flip up a little bit and just ride forward. And just like that, now I get to get in recovery mode. So that is one of the big downsides to talking and playing at the same time, is because you get so caught up in what you're talking about that you're not thinking about the actual shot or trying to go forward and whatnot with it. It is what it is. We're gonna be throwing a pixel up there. That's what I've been putting with too, is a pixel as well. And I'm not gonna try to go for it. Going for it would be silly. I mean, I probably could because I do have a backstop up there, but I'm not likely going to make this, so I'd rather have a much easier putt coming out of it. Oh, apparently I still give it a little bit of a run. Yeah, unintentional, not exactly. I'm trying to just go towards the basket, and if I did something great. The other two things that you want to think about when throwing shots like that, where you have a hill, is if I were to hit the cage and it was to land kind of awkward like that, it could very easily roll all the way down the hill, and I don't want that. So coming up short is a good idea. I will be talking to you more about what I have coming up for this year, both as far as TG Disc Golf is concerned and personally in my disc golf walk, as well as some other things that I would like to see happening, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. This should be an easy putt. I got about edge of bullseye, maybe not even. I tend to take these ones for granted though. There we go. Find a link in the chains and just aim for it no matter what. But understand the fact that your distance, if you're close to it and you're doing that and you still rip it into it, you very well could bounce back out, and that's not good. Especially on these baskets, they're ruthless. They don't like anybody. All right, so this hole, I don't think you can see it on the camera, but there is a split tree that's down there at the end of this alleyway here. And just on the other side of that, probably about 10 to 20 to 15 feet-ish, somewhere in there, is the basket. It's just on the right side or right behind where that right side split tree is. And so the goal is to just throw it up the middle here and kind of let it fade back in towards the basket. If you go too long, there's a clumping of trees that are back there that can kind of stop you, but you're kind of playing hit or miss if you go too far like that. Some other people will play the inside gap. And the reason that they'll do that is because it's a little bit safer and they feel like they can get up further. But honestly, with the amount of distance that this hole is, which is very, very short, I think it's one of the shortest holes on the course, honestly, you don't get the high speed portion of a flare skip to be able to get into where the basket is. There is also another line that is over here to the right that you could take that kind of gives an opening up on the right hand side for you. But there is OB on that far right side. So if you're looking at the road over here, you might actually even be able to see it in the ground. There's some stakes that I had set down for a juniors tournament last year. This coming year, when I run the juniors tournament again, hopefully, there will be a little bit better idea of what stakes will be. So they won't be stakes. They'll probably be more like hex bolts that I get to screw into the ground so they stay there a little bit more permanently, because these ones do not stay there permanently. So I'm gonna be throwing it down the center with an overstable 4-speed. So this is from Compound Disc Golf, run by Hayden Kujala. I don't honestly remember what the name of this disc is, but it acts a little bit like an Entropy, but it's a little bit more overstable than the brand new one that I do have in the bag. So the brand new one is getting beat in a little bit more and a little bit more as I'm playing with it. But this one is 3D printed, and is just beautiful. I love the way that it looks. I love the way that it feels in the hand. It's nice and shallow. I really like that. It's 172 weight. Yeah, so I'm gonna kind of put it, normally I try to do an anhyzer and kind of flex it in there and whatnot. I don't think that's necessary. I think I'm just gonna kind of try to keep it as flat as possible with maybe a tiny little bit of a hyzer and let it just fly in there to where that back tree is, and then set myself up hopefully for a birdie, for a small birdie putt. I still threw it anhyzer. Oh, but I got through the gap. All right. Not the gap that I wanted it to go through, but it got through the gap. There's a putt from over there. I'm probably about 20 feet or so, which is like my worst distance of them all. I'm actually not bad at all. I must have hit something and kind of counter skipped backwards because I was coming through the gap here on this angle. So I think I feel like I should have been over here, but I think maybe this downed tree kind of helped us out a little bit and pushed us more back that way, or it hit it and skipped backwards. So this basket is one that definitely hates me. I can hit dead center and it will bounce back out a lot. So I tend to get nervous around this basket. My hands get cold because, like I said, it's 42 degrees out. Okay, whew. In the basket, that's all I care about. All right, another two. We're doing really well. Like I said, my best score here was a 10 under, actually trying and whatnot. And, but these are the easy holes. So hole 9 is really where he starts to get dangerous. So let's hope that I don't screw up then. All right, so this one, I love the line on hole 6. Tee pads up here. If you've noticed, all of the tee pads that I've been playing from so far are green. Intentional, front half is all green, back half is all orange. This one goes up into, between these trees here and out there into the field, to that basket that's way out there. Probably, I don't want to say 300 feet because that seems a little bit far, but it's a little bit less than that. But I tend to throw my crave. This is a little bit overstable of a crave. I have another understable one that I like to throw too, but I'm going to try to get a little bit softer throw with a little bit more distance so I can make sure that I get it between those two trees there and whatnot. Can be a very easy 2, can be a very hard 3, especially if I hit this tree right here. I'm working on some backhand form things because I noticed that I don't have a good plant foot. And you'll probably see that and laugh at me, but that's okay because we're all growing here, right? Ooh, there we go. All right, I'm out there. Oh, a little bit of a counter skip. Yeah, I'm probably about 20 feet still again. Should be an easy putt. All right, so we are definitely more than 20 feet. But we are not outside the circle. Not that it would really matter because I don't really do a whole lot of step putts. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty close to edge, but again, these are not my best distances. So I tend to get nervous and I tend to either power in too hard of it because I'm trying to make it further than I need to, or I just shortchange it. And I don't like doing either of those. Yeah, I just like that, shortchanging it. At least I hit cage though, right? Because not hitting cage would have been even worse. All right, 3 on that hole, not bad. I don't mind that. I obviously want a 2 on it because I'm, generally close, and I was pulling back a little bit on getting it that far. Had I thrown the other craves that I had, I probably would have been closer. But I was more worried about my stance and the way that I was throwing it, so I wanted to make sure that this came back. All right, so this one is right up there at the top of the hill. Here's the tee pad right here. And right beyond the basket, there's probably about 20 feet to where there's the fence line back there, which is the back of the baseball field. So if we go OB right side, which might be hard to see, but there is a road over there. The road itself is OB. There is a little berm that kind of comes down and then goes back up again, and there's a little bit of grass that's down there. The grass itself down there is not OB, but the road and beyond is OB. And that's for anybody that plays this course. Anything outside of the course is OB no matter what. The baseball field beyond the basket is OB for 12 and up. So you would take it wherever it went out and then bring it back in with your meter or whatnot. If you're under 12 and you go in there, it's not a hazard, it's nothing. And you'll see on hole 9 why I set that up that way, so that the kids can make sure that they have more of a fun time, honestly. But I'll show you in hole 9 what I mean with that. So with this one, another pyro shot, like I did in hole 3. And this one, I'm not aiming for the sky. I'm not trying to get it high. I'm not trying to get out there. I'm literally going a low shot into the hill that's right beneath where the basket is, because I want an uphill throw that's just going to be short, and I want to make sure that I'm not going to go deep into the baseball field. Ooh, I pulled it far right. That's not going to be fun. All right, that's going to be a layup. All right, I said it was going to be a layup. I very much so mean it, but sometimes layups get away and put you back a little bit further, because that hill, if this does roll down it, it likes to roll. So I'm not going to put this in. I'm not going to put this in. I even brought my mini for no reason, but I'm not going to put this in. I'm just going to put it up right to the right of the basket. Perfect. I'm going to take my 3. We're going to walk away. All right, so this is another short shot. Basket's down there on that hill down there. There is OB beyond the basket about 15 or so feet. This is very much so intended to be a backhand hyzer throw. I have seen people do tomahawks to it, which works. I've done 1 or 2 with it as well. I've seen people do forehand shots with it, and the biggest issue with forehands is that this whole fence here marks OB into the baseball field. So if they do forehand it, it goes out almost immediately, and if it doesn't come back, you've gained maybe 20 feet. Not a good idea, especially if you're trying to at least get distance up there. So I like to do a backhand aiming right for where that stop sign is, with some hyzer to kind of let it skip up into where the basket is. I also like to keep it shorter, because obviously, like I said, there's OB beyond it, and you don't necessarily want it to skip beyond the basket as well. Some other shots that I've thrown is a nice high sweeping hyzer, because then it's going to come in at an angle and kind of stick and stop. But I'm feeling a little bit comfortable with my pyro today, so I think I'm going to stick with that. And like I said, just aim for the stop sign that's over here and hope that it sticks up close to the basket. This is one that I need it to be close to the basket, because it's a scary putt otherwise. Oh no. Roll back in. That did not. All right, so I'll be taking an OB stroke up there, which is great, but not really. All right, you now get to see the road and basket, and you'll now know why 8 and 9 start to become the difficult holes, because easy to go OB here and even more easy to go OB on the next hole. So again, kind of like 4, I'm just going to kind of try to get it up there, because I can't really do a whole lot from here. Ooh, sit. Oh, I almost put that one in. That would have been awesome. Putting to OB, or towards OB, up the hill, which can easily roll, but thankfully I'm only like 10 feet, so. Put that in for the 4. Now onto the hardest hole of the course. All right, so the way that I designed this hole, this here is the tee pad right here on the edge of the road. All right, this is the end of the tee pad. I originally designed it because the tee pad was up a little bit further and it kind of forced you to go over the out of bounds. So this area right here in front is inbounds. You get the baseball field, out of bounds, and then beyond the baseball field is back inbounds again. Off to the right side, or what would be, I guess, right field home run line, that is all inbounds, and it's a nice right to left slope on a berm over there that helps if you're throwing a forehand to kind of just stop you there. But the problem is that right on the top of the berm is also road, which is OB. So there's this narrow strip down this right-hand side that you got to land on, and that's why this is actually the hardest hole of the entirety of the course, is because there's such a narrow gap, like probably not even 30 feet of an actual like distance between the fence and the road that you need to land, and it's still another 300 or so feet that it's out there. I've obviously seen the forehand, which that's what this hole was intended for, was the forehand. I throw backhand and will be throwing a backhand here. And there goes my student pastor from our church. I'll be seeing him Wednesday, hopefully. Yeah, so I will take the backhand route here. There is also a sneaky backhand route that you can take that's with a very overstable disc, that you go to the right of this pole here and contend with all of the power lines that are up there, and it kind of comes back in and crashes before it gets to the road. The only other thing that I've seen is someone try to like just put it off to the right-hand side and just hope and a prayer. If you land if you land out of bounds in the baseball field here, there is a standing drop zone over on hole 18, which is way over there, that you take, and you're throwing now 3 from the drop zone. But that's a much more straight shot to the basket. And if you go out of bounds on the road, way over the side, then you've already had to have crossed inbounds over on that side. You just take it to wherever you went out over there. Or you could take it from the drop zone, whichever one you decide. But honestly, it would be dumb to not take it from over there, because you're much closer to the basket, and you'd be throwing 3 versus 4. Or 3 versus wherever you would end up at over there. So I'm going to be throwing the Crave. Same one I threw on 6. And honestly, I'm not really trying to make it. I'm just trying to get close to the basket. But I need to put it on Anheuser, or else it's going to tail out into the baseball field. If I can get a 3 on this one, I'm stoked, because this is, like I said, the hardest hole on the entirety of the course. Come back out. Sit. Lovely. All right, that's exactly what I wanted. I have a putt from there, and I can do it. And it's starting to rain, so that's going to be even better for the second half of this course. All right, scary parts of this putt. I'm putting uphill, which most people don't practice uphill, so it's very hard when you're doing uphill stuff because you haven't practiced it before. But going uphill, and you are currently stationed in the OB on the road, and the road is very close to the back of this basket. So if I miss any metal, there's a solid chance that I'm going OB. But if I hit the bottom of the basket, then that doesn't matter, right? All right, concentrate. Yeah, 2 on the hardest hole in the course. All right, that felt really good. Going into the back with 3 down. We'll talk a little bit more about life and personal stuff going into that too. All right, so going into the back half, again, a lot of these holes are, now we're starting again back on hole 1, but I'm just throwing from a different position. So I'm not gonna tell you basically where a whole lot about the hole, other than the fact of tee pad, which is now orange, we'll be throwing from all orange. basket down there. I'll be throwing a pyro on a forehand. I can throw a backhand that spike hyzers in, but I really am trying to practice my forehand. And this one, I'm just gonna ensure that it's gonna come back. That's the basic reason why I wanna throw this one. Not because I actually think that I'm gonna do anything with it. Oh, skip up just behind the chains. I'm again a distance away on hole 1, which kind of sucks, but it'll be all right. All right, aim for the chains. Just at the top of the basket. All right. Well, I'm par for that hole anyways. All right, I realized if it's starting to rain, I probably should just make sure that I got through the round, and then I can talk about things afterwards as far as life and goals and stuff like that. So, again, basket down there, orange pad here. That Mando tree there, while it was in effect in number 2, I didn't even do anything about it because I went super far right. Mando tree is in effect. I'll be throwing a Total Eclipse Hex on an Anheuser line so that it can make sure that it gets around that Mando, but then come back to be able to finish at the end of the basket. Just gotta make sure I actually put enough Anheuser on this though to not fade out early. Well, that worked. Fade, 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 fade. Oh gosh, I'm so deep. I didn't intend to be this deep, but I made the Mando, so good on me. This has been the first time I made the Mando in like 3 times playing this course. All right. Let's get it high enough that it's not gonna hit cage this time. Oh, I didn't hit cage, but I didn't get it high enough to get into the cage. Oh, all right. Well, this pack half isn't exactly starting great, but then again, these have been some holes that I don't normally do amazing on anyways. So this next one, hopefully I can get in the circle. All right, so again, we're at a point where you can't actually see where the basket is this time, but again, this is the same as hole 3 was. Clump of trees in the front there. The intent for this basket was to make it a forehand that you go up this middle gap and then curve to the right. I have seen people come to the right side here on a hyzer line and kind of skip it up in there, but you're kind of contending, if you're not very great, with this low branch here and then the tree on the right hand side. So I try not necessarily to do that. I do try to put a forehand on this, and I've had people who have argued about whether you should make holes that force forehands or whatnot. All right, so forehand up the middle, pyro again. There you go. With the skip. Oh, I think I was just beyond the chains. All right, hopefully I'm confident enough in this throw that I'm not gonna miss this one. This hole has been terrible for the past year or so because all the chains were just falling off of it and whatnot. And I had to come in here before the tournament with the juniors and be able to clean this up. So now at least it looks decent, and when you putt this direction, you're not putting at a pole, but you're putting at chains now, which is a whole lot nicer. There we go. Bring the confidence back. 2, baby. All right, so again, going up this middle gap here. I do throw a backhand here because it's just easier. I do tend to also throw a 6-speed, but I'm wondering if maybe I should throw a 5-speed because I tend to go long. I do ace run it a lot, but I tend to go long, and I really don't want to do that this time. But I also don't want to throw Anheuser, so I think I'm going to do, this is a super lightweight hex, a 157. That definitely flips when I throw it. So I'm gonna throw it with hyzer at the basket, and I hope that it lands flat so that it doesn't skip off to the left side like I was saying earlier about this hole. Okay, 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 okay. Yes. Looks like it landed flat, which is good. Well, I do indeed have a putt. There is a long putt. All right, so behind your mini, again, new player rule, or new player thing, behind your mini, you technically have about the size of a piece of paper that you can step in behind your mini, and you just have to have a part of your supporting foot in that piece of paper, but not in front of the mini. So what I'm gonna do is, instead of just trying to be up here, because then I'm putting more at a downward angle, I'm gonna try to be as close to the same level as the basket is physically possible. So I'm actually gonna reach my heel in behind where the mini is, and still keeping my same stance, like I'm still trying to keep the same forward stance and whatnot, but I'm gonna keep my heel in where that piece of paper is, and I'm gonna move myself down the hill a little bit more, so I'm throwing a little bit more flat than I would be if I was up at the top of the piece of paper. Yes, another 2. All right, so this is the signature ace hole. From here, again, the basket's down there, and there is OB on that far right side. So if you do hit and skip far, or if you throw it too hard, you will end up going OB. I have aced this once with an Electron Envy. I don't have one of those in my bag anymore, so I can't really throw that anymore. But I will be using the Entropy, which is similar stability, a little bit more speed, but I'm also gonna still, like I said, throw it, try to get it forehand again. And this one, I'm not trying to get, again, I'm not trying to ace it. I'm just gonna try to get it close because this basket doesn't really like me. Oh, that looks like it's so close to OB. All right, I did take a lot of it off of it. So, okay, no, I'm good, I'm safe. I took a lot of it off of it because I didn't want to go super deep and whatnot, but I threw it with a whole lot of hyzer, so it didn't even have a chance to get up or safe. So OB is down here. There's a little yellow line that kind of goes all the way down the edge of the path here, which marks the gravel road from the grass here. This up here is inbounds, and the way that I kind of designed the OB, just for understanding, is that if it rolls down the hill here and there's a little divot here before it comes back up again, if you get stuck in this divot, I don't want it to be that bad of an issue. You went for it, you tried, you didn't succeed. I don't want you to be a glutton for punishment in that. But if you really like skip it and it goes like super far deep, if you pick the wrong disc or anything like that, I don't want it to be like egregiously bad, but I still want you to be able to have that fear of throwing it too far and potentially going OB. So that's the way that I designed the OB for this hole. Let's hope that I can make this putt, because this is not going to be a good putt if I miss it. Okay, well, it didn't roll back downhill. I did get it high enough. I just put too much anhyzer on it, which is fine. I'm not bogeying it yet. If I stick with one bogey in the entire course, I'll be okay. All right, so that was a 3. Still sitting at, I think, 4 down. But now we get to move to the longest hole in the course. I will be throwing from tee pad here to the basket that's way down there. I think UDisc says that this is like a 340 or something, but I feel like that's less than what it actually is. So there are 2 Mandos on the left. There's one that you can see here, and then there's another one that's on beyond it, and that's to protect both of the tee pads that are sitting on the left side of this course here. Throwing a trail on hyzer, because this is a flippy boy, and I'm just gonna hope that it's gonna get down there underneath these first trees and whatnot, and then land somewhere in the area down there without hitting or missing a Mando. All right, well, I didn't miss the Mando, and I am down there, but that is almost a guaranteed par. All my upshots so far have been with the Pixel, but this one, because it's a little bit further off, I want it to be a little bit more comfortable of a shot, so I'm throwing my Entropy here. And again, just trying to get up to it, not dunk it. Yeah, that should be all right. I'm within putting range. All right, again, I threw that one on a fairly steep hyzer, and I didn't necessarily mean to, but actually no, I lied. I did mean to do it, but I meant to go a little bit further out right so that it would crash in more towards the basket, but that's fine. I'm not in a bad spot here. Oh, all right. 3 on the longest hole, I'll take it. That's about normal for this course anyways. All right, so I really enjoy this hole too, because this is one that I love to empty my bag on when I'm trying to do it. Tee pad is right here. Obviously we're going up to the basket that's up there. And again, behind the basket is OB. So I'm gonna be throwing a watt, and again, just trying to get to the hill that's just below the basket, because I'm okay with an uphill throw that's close rather than a death putt from the other side of it. I'd rather have the uphill throw. Turn over on the hill, money. Exactly good. If I could have a little bit more right, it would be great, but I'm not gonna complain, honestly. God is good. Exactly the throw that I wanted. Just put it in the basket. As long as I stop getting notifications on my watch. Perfect. All right. Well, I'm not going to make it to the best score that I've had on this course, but I'm still going to have a pretty good hole score regardless. Same hole as the one that I went OB on, but longer. So this time I'm going to stable up a little bit more. I'm going to go with a resistor. And again, I'm aiming for that stop sign that's on the right and hoping that it just kind of fades back into the basket there. I'm going to give this one a little bit more hyzer to make sure that it's going to come back in. And then one of the great things about this hole too is that because the fence is on the left-hand side here, if I hyzer in too much, it'll just hit the fence and kind of just stop there. So playing the course the way that it's built is sometimes a good idea. I've also seen someone throw a forehand roller and let it just ride down the fence. That's also a very legitimate strategy to do. All right, a little bit more hyzer. That was far too high. Okay. Well, like I said, it hit the fence, rolled off, and curled up somewhere right around 25 feet out from the basket. Like, that's playing the course the way that it was designed, mainly because I designed it. I'm just worried that it's going to hit and roll, and I'm not going to get the comebacker, but we'll worry about that if that happens. All right. Oh! That went way deep. Went way too high. All right, still in inbounds though, so that's not terrible. Much further away than I want it to be though, because this is still not an easy putt. Whoo! Nothing but a little bit of added pressure right there. So sometimes you'll see, if you're watching disc golf live or something like that, you'll sometimes see the pros like looking at their phones towards the last 3, 2, 1 holes. And that's kind of make sure to figure out how close they are to the rest of their competition. See if they really need to like push holes to make sure that they're going to make it or anything like that. So I was looking at my watch to see, I know roughly what UDisc ground ratings are in the course here, and at the moment I think I'm sitting, if I par out, I'm sitting a little bit over a 200. I wanted to make it a little bit more comfortable than that because I'm playing against the top person in our league this week. So I really wanted to be a little bit more comfortable, but this next hole should be easy enough for me to just par it. That's the hope.